Hello everyone, this is a beginning of a series in explaining why string theory is 100% mathematical version of Yogacara Buddhism. String theory is thought to be a theory in physics yet to be proven correct. Yogacara Buddhism is a school of Buddhism which is a religion. How can the two be the same? It is the objective here to explain step by step why the two are describing the exact same reality except using completely different terms. Edward Witten is a string theorist who discovered M-theory, which unifies 5 different versions of superstrings. M-theory is the central component of all string theory conjectures. Xianzang, on the other hand, is a Chinese monk who lived in the 7th century Tang dynasty who unified various interpretations of Yogacara Buddhism into Chengwei Shilun. We shall see that string theory is 100% the mathematics of Chengwei Shilun. Since Einstein, physicists have been trying to unify all the 4 forces of nature, which are strong, weak, electromagnetism, and gravity. The first 3, strong, weak, and electromagnetism, have been successfully unified into quantum theory. The only one that cannot be unified is gravity. After 100 years, many attempts have been made. The only candidate that can unify the 4 forces is string theory, while all other attempts fail. Physics is a family of theories with children from pre-1900 and parents post-1900, which are general relativity and quantum mechanics. The problem is, if the 2 parents can't talk to each other, there is really no family of physics. Therefore, the logical conclusion is there is no physics and fundamental reality is not physical. How about string theory? String theory is the only candidate of theory of everything, or the only game in town, but is string theory a theory of physics? After its discovery in 1969, for 55 years, nobody knows what string theory is. First of all, string theory has many components that are not understood and nowhere to be seen. Many different number of extra dimensions dictated by mathematics, Coulomb manifolds, branes, or membranes, a contracting universe called anti-de Sitter space. Then there are 5 versions of superstring theory, or theory of everything. Shouldn't there just be one theory of everything after unification? Why there are 5 theories of everything? Nobody knows after 50 years after their discovery. Even the most important of all, the M-theory, nobody knows what it is good for. Most importantly, are all these stuff real, or do they exist? A relevant question is string theory metaphysics with extra dimensions, Coulomb manifolds, branes, parallel universes, anti-de Sitter space, etc., even though it's supported by mathematics? Let us now listen to David Gross, who discovered one of the 5 versions of superstrings.
But I want you to remember that when you read in the paper that physicists at CERN have, if they announce they've discovered something which looks like what theorists tell them might be supersymmetry, what they're really discovering is quantum dimensions of space-time. It will be correct to say then, in fact, it would be incorrect not to say that we don't live in ordinary space-time, but we live in superspace. The fact that you aren't aware of these extra dimensions begs the question, how are you aware of the ordinary dimensions? Space-time, I'll remind you, is a mental construct. You don't feel space-time. You don't see space-time. You have, as an infant, somehow, miraculously, while your brain was developing, constructed a model of physical reality that placed it in space and in time. But it's only a model constructed by biological.
So, according to David Gross, superspace which we are unaware of and unseen is more real. So what is string theory? Now we have to listen to Max Planck. He said, "I regard consciousness as fundamental. I regard matter as derivative from consciousness. We cannot get behind consciousness. Obviously, string theory, which unifies general relativity and quantum mechanics at the deepest level of reality, is a theory of consciousness and not physics. Unfortunately, we can't understand what consciousness really is without Yogacara Buddhism. The thinking that consciousness being fundamental of nature is getting momentum. For example, according to Donald Hoffman, objects do not exist independently of us perceiving them, and that all that really exists is conscious agents. Also, we perceive 0% of reality. What's truly real underneath that illusion is a realm of conscious agents where physical world emerges. And even the Big Bang must be understood in a universe where consciousness is fundamental. Bernardo Kastrup wrote, "The idea that reality is fundamentally thought, consciousness, or an idea, as opposed to physical matter, atoms, or particles, is becoming more mainstream. The many problems with scientific materialism are finally coming home to roost. The common ground is science of 21st century will be metaphysical or science of consciousness, where Yogacara Buddhism will play a central role by pointing to what the deepest reality is like or how nature is organized. Yogacara Buddhism is also called mind-only or consciousness-only, which means all that exist are our mind or consciousness in perceiving them. In order to get up to speed quickly, some very important core concepts have to be made very clear. First, we think there is a little girl called N exist. But according to Yogacara Buddhism, there is no N. The deepest reality of the girl called N are a bunch of energies or existence or spaces called consciousness. This is hard to imagine, let alone to believe in our current prevailing worldview. But think of metaverse-like reality where there are just processing chips, gears, data, and network. Yogacara is describing the aboriginal metaverse. All those that we think exist like N, brain, and Apple are just illusion, which is same time and concurrent, just like metaverse. Another important key concept is we do not see with our eye organ but with visual function of eye consciousness. For example, N's ability to see is not with her physical eye organ but visual function of eye consciousness. The object N sees is not the apple but image function of eye consciousness. It is important to repeat this. The ability to see is not with eye organ but with visual function of eye consciousness, which until one understands string theory, it is extremely abstract. It is kind of energy or space. Again, to repeat this, our eye organ is only an illusion. The ability to see is not with eye organ but with this abstract space or energy called visual function of eye consciousness. The object of sight for N is not the apple, as apple does not exist, but the apple exists only as the image function of eye consciousness, which is rather abstract until string theory. Similarly, the ability to hear is not with ear organ, which is an illusion, but with visual function of ear consciousness, which again is kind of a space or energy. The object of hearing by knocking at the apple is not from the apple, as the apple does not exist. The object of hearing is the image function of ear consciousness. These are very important concepts, and it is suggested you replay this multiple times to fully get the ideas into your mind. Why string theory is 100% mathematics of Yogacara Buddhism. String theory is a collection of mathematical conjectures, and string theorists today do not know what string theory is. All these conjectures seems to be very useful, but what are they? Do they, including brains and extra dimensions, exist in reality? Are they all required? If only some exist, then which ones? Are they just mathematical tools? David Gross said, "You can't put string theory on a t-shirt because we don't know what the equations are. We don't know the organizing principle." There is a very ill-understood M-theory generalization. String theory is not a theory but a framework. To some string theorists, like Clifford Johnson, thinks string theory is a bunch of toolboxes. We shall see later, all mathematical conjectures which are useful, are all necessary components of Yogacara Buddhism. Which means all mathematical conjectures of string theory are required and they exist in nature and are fundamental. That is why string theory is 100% mathematical version of Yogacara Buddhism. To understand the deepest reality of nature, one has to drop the baggage of the old worldview in order to progress. The reality is the universe is conscious being centric and not physical. Thank you for watching.